My husband and I don't want kids. My mother-in-law is big into family in the traditional sense. She has been pushy with us about having kids since we got married. Literally the week after we got engaged, she started asking. My husband has always changed the subject and has even told her that it's really none of her business. Every time we see her, she asks. Everything we do is built around the idea of us having kids. 3 years into our marriage, my husband said we might not even have kids, and mother-in-law would not hear it. At year 4, husband had a vasectomy and I had a tubal. So this weekend we were all at their home enjoying some BBQ and drinks and everything. When I get up to grab a beer, my mother-in-law asks me if maybe I should drink water instead, because wink wink nudge nudge, you never know. I was annoyed by this and said, there's really no chance. Mother-in-law, all wide grin, said, oh come on. It's time for you two to finally get serious. Put down the beer and tell us when we can finally expect you two to finally make your family official. I said, we've been official for about 5 years now, mother-in-law, and drink the beer. Husband laughs with me. Mother-in-law gets more annoyed and says, well, you won't be real family until you bless us with babies. Husband said, Mom, enough. Mother-in-law pushed again. Husband repeated. After about 15 minutes of the usual comments, I finally snapped and said, mother-in-law, husband got snipped. I had my tubes tied. We're not having kids. You need to stop bringing it up. Period. Well, I thought I started World War III. She started crying and stormed off. Family looked at us with disgust and stormed off to comfort her. We left. Party kinda ended. The social media bullshit started shortly after. Vague posts, links about how motherhood is a woman's greatest calling, listicles about how unhappy childless women are, etc. Some meme about how, I guess I wasn't a good enough mother and won't be graduating to grandmother. It's obnoxious to the point that I just muted all of them. My mother-in-law finally called me this morning and told me that she was willing to put this all behind us if husband and I came over and listened to her reasons that we really need to have kids. I told her no, that we are tired of her pushing this on us, and then she said, well then, I guess you two aren't prepared to be real family. I'd like a refund for what we paid for the wedding. It wasn't that much. It was like $400 for the rehearsal dinner. I hung up on her. When recounting this to my friends, a few of them said that I was the idiot here for dropping it like that. But I don't think she was ever going to drop it if I didn't finally make a serious, direct comment about it. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I despise people like your mother-in-law, people who think that everybody needs to have kids. As somebody who also never wants to have to deal with the burden of children, I applaud you and your husband's firm stance in doing what works for you. I'm happy for you that you found somebody so compatible with your views on the matter. As far as mother-in-law goes, you were entirely in the right. I would have snapped at her a lot sooner than you did, that's for sure. She has no right to keep pushing her views on you guys, especially when she's been told before to stop. Everybody else treating you with contempt and rushing off to make her feel better needs to pull their heads in and grow up, seriously. The social media nonsense is despicable bullocks as well. How immature. You gave your mother-in-law several nice requests to stop asking about it, and you had to be direct. She is the idiot for being so pushy about it after you stopped and demanding a refund for her rehearsal dinner and saying all those mean things to you. Not the idiot. I hate people that are pushy about big life choices. It's not a life, it's not a choice, whether you guys have kids or not. You aren't an idiot for refusing to have children, nor are you an idiot for making it very clear that you never intend to have children. Me, 28, and my husband, 26, have been married for 4 months. I returned to work right after we got back from our honeymoon. My husband thinks I went too soon and wanted to extend our honeymoon or plans for a summer trip for us, but since we have to pay rent, electricity, and internet, we needed to earn a living. I work at a restaurant right across the street. My husband would call me during work hours and complain about missing me and feeling bored. I get home by 6 p.m., so I understand how he feels since he can't start working till September. He called me one time from work asking if I could come home to watch a movie together, but I said I was busy. He complained, then ended the call, then called me back 30 minutes later telling me to get home as soon as possible because he injured his arm and couldn't move it. I freaked out and went home quickly to find it was actually a lie to get me to skip work so I could watch the movie with him. It pissed me off. He did it again days later saying his car broke down and I needed to come pick him up. Then I found out he lied to get me out of work so he could take me out for lunch. I spoke to him about it and told him to stop doing it and he apologized and said he won't repeat those shameful acts. 5 days ago, he called me while I was working telling me to come take him to the hospital because he fell from the stairs and injured his ankle. I hung up on him thinking he was lying. He texted me, but I ignored him since I had ton of work. 20 minutes later his brother called and was mad, saying he just took my husband to the hospital for his broken ankle and I should have responded to my husband's calls and texts. I went to the hospital and my husband was very upset. I tried to explain I thought he was joking, but he said, "Save it, I don't want to hear about how you thought I was a liar," then went on about how hurt he was that I didn't help him in time of need and vulnerability. He told me to go back to work since it was so important and since I didn't want to leave it to help him out. He started a big argument over this. I told him due to his previous lies, how was I supposed to believe him now? He said he didn't even need to tell me and I should have known something was wrong. It's been days and he's still upset and asked his sister-in-law to stay to help him out. I felt horrible and like not a supportive wife at all. Not the idiot. Right now you are in the shallow end of the abuse pool. He isn't going to change. You can't fix him. How much abuse are you willing to take? You need to seriously think about this. Find your line. Do it before he pushes the line too far. Your grasp on reasonable is going to slip further. It is already compromised. Draw your own line. Then hold the line come hell or high water. Not the idiot. Why are you feeling bad because he lied over and over to you? If he was so bored, he could have worked a temporary job before he broke his ankle. I know you just got married, but do you see yourself 30-40 years down the road, wondering if you can believe anything that this guy tells you? Not the idiot, your husband is. He's a big boy and can take care of himself. You're going to lose your job soon if he continues his immature behavior. Tell him from now on your phone will be off when you're at work, which it should be anyway, and that you'll check messages and texts when you're taking your breaks. Did he behave like this before you got married? If not, then keep wary of further changes in his behavior. If he gets more controlling and manipulative, then you might need to reconsider your relationship. My mother-in-law has made a small family quilt for all of her kids and their spouses, 5 couples including us. The quilt is really cute, has the couples' names, their kids' names, and their favorite hobbies and things, all done in stitching and cute little cloth pictures. I was really looking forward to getting ours because I admit I'm a bit of a hipster and I love homemade kitschy stuff like that for our home. She recently finished her latest one for my husband's brother and I thought we were getting ours soon since my husband is the youngest. I asked my sister-in-law, she got hers first, and she very awkwardly informed me that no such quilt will be coming our way. I was a bit upset and asked my husband to investigate. Turns out mother-in-law has no intention of making a quilt for us because there's not enough to put on all the squares or whatever, basically meaning since we don't have kids we don't deserve a quilt because she can't be bothered. I message her directly about it because I'm just that kind of person. I like hearing it straight from the other guy. Mother-in-law says her fingers hurt after the first 4 quilts and she's taking a break. I ask her if it has anything to do with the fact that we have no kids, which she expressed negativity against in the past, and she says no, even though I know it's a lie. I push her more and ask her when she thinks the quilt will be done after her little break, and she kind of loses her temper and says there's no quilt and there never will be a quilt. I ask why and she says she's only interested in making quilts with her grandkids and things on them, and we don't have enough hobbies and kids' hobbies to fill up a whole quilt. I tell her we have 2 beautiful dogs whom we love and could be put on there, and she says, I'm not making a whole quilt for a couple of goddamn dogs, verbatim. I hang up and tell my husband and he's 100% on my side. But now I got a really mean voice message from my sister-in-law telling me that I crossed a line and am acting like a huge idiot for no reason. I'm shocked because I have a great relationship with my sister-in-law and she always defended me from other family nonsense. My husband wants no part in this now. Am I the idiot for what I said to my mother-in-law? You are totally entitled to feel hurt that your mother-in-law does not consider you quilt worthy over what you probably correctly assume is the fact you do not have kids. but you are not entitled to demand a quilt from her. This is a gift, she is free to choose to not give you one. You are also free to make your conclusions about your relationship from that. She sucks, too, for not treating all her kids equally quilt-wise, but you asked about whether you were the idiot for saying what you did to her, and you were the idiot for demanding a handmade quilt, with a deadline to boot. You are the idiot, continually pushing when someone says no is an idiot thing. You can be upset, but she isn't under any obligation to make you a quilt, and equating your dogs to her grandkids did not help the situation, especially with the rest of your in-laws. If you want a family quilt, there's nothing stopping you from learning how and making one, but you're not entitled to one from your mother-in-law just because other families got one. With how unpleasantly you dealt with the situation, I think the reason you're not getting a quilt is not solely down to the fact you don't have kids. Firstly, a quilt like she makes is meant to be passed down to your kids, then their kids, and so on and so forth. So since you don't have kids, then you can't really do that, you can't pass it on to your dogs. Also, your dogs don't have hobbies, so how is she going to put them on there? The fact that you feel entitled to a handmade, labor-intensive gift is just adding to your mother-in-law's desire not to make you one. I, 24, was the maid of honor at the wedding of my brother and his wife, my sister-in-law. While we were planning the wedding, my sister-in-law mentioned how overbearing her mom can be and how she always feels bad asking her to stop being an attention hog. I told my sister-in-law that on the wedding day, I'd take care of her, no matter what. Sure enough, mother-in-law pulls up to the wedding wearing a white dress, something my sister-in-law guessed she'd do. I saw her get out of her car and start walking towards the venue, so I pulled her aside before anyone could see her and brought her in through a side entrance. I told her that it was inappropriate to wear white at someone else's wedding and that if she wanted to attend, she'd have to change. I had my sister-in-law give me some of mother-in-law's nice dresses, so I had a few for her to choose from. Mother-in-law flipped out on me. She told me I had no right to ask her to change and that I was being a pain in the neck on an emotional day. She started crying and went to look for her husband, so I updated sister-in-law and she told me if mother-in-law would rather miss her own daughter's wedding rather than just change her dress, she could miss it. Mother-in-law ended up changing, but made a huge deal out of it and went home early during the reception because she didn't feel welcome. She still maintains that I was out of line. I don't think I did anything wrong, but I do feel really shitty for potentially being the reason my sister-in-law wasn't able to enjoy her wedding fully with her mother, even though sister-in-law still had crazy amounts of fun. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The fact that your sister-in-law had dresses because she knew this would happen shows me that the mother-in-law would have ruined their day if you weren't there. I applaud you. You are one hell of a maid of honor, and I would love for someone like you to be there on my wedding day, because I know my mom is going to do something like this at mine. You handled this with all the tact and diplomacy and ingenuity anyone could expect of you. You even brought along a selection of mother-in-law's nice dresses for her to choose from. If I'm ever rude, I'd want someone like you to handle pointing it out to me. You not only prevented mother-in-law's lapse in manners, but you also allowed her to save face. Well done. You're the idiot. You're the justice idiot. I mean, that's why you're worried, right? Because you were an idiot to someone else's mom. You don't really know this person and had to make them change on the day of their daughter's wedding. That's an idiot directive that was given to you as maid of honor. Her mom shot a bullet at the wedding that could have damaged everything, the day, the guests, the relationship. You threw yourself in front of that bullet and took it by being an idiot to her so that the bride didn't have to fight with her own mother the day of the wedding, and more importantly so the groom wouldn't have to start off the marriage on a negative foot. You're the nicest idiot in the history of weddings. My in-laws live in a sleepy artsy-fartsy town where nothing ever happens. They know all their neighbors, half of the family lives nearby. They're the kind of people who are comfortable with anyone coming in or dropping by unannounced just to say hi, show someone something on their phone, etc. It's very full house. So that being said, they don't lock their door. We've piled into the car to go to the store or other places before and I've said, "Do you have the key?" To be, gently, not meanly, laughed at and had it explained that they don't need to lock the door. I'm not comfortable with that, but I didn't say anything. I just moved my travel bag into my car. When we went to get ready for bed, I passed by the door and saw it hadn't been locked. I asked if I should lock up for the night and the family chuckled again. I felt extremely uncomfortable, so for peace of mind, I locked up. In the morning, father-in-law got up and went to get his paper. He found the door was locked and said, "My name, did you lock the door?" I said yeah, very casually. He looked at me like I was crazy. I said I'm just not comfortable with leaving doors unlocked. Both of them laughed, and for the rest of the weekend, the jokes continued. Things like, "Who hurt you?" And "What was so bad in your childhood that you can't deal with an unlocked door?" And "What do you think was going to happen? Someone was going to break in." This isn't big city we live in. We ended up leaving early because my husband was tired of telling them to knock it off. A few days later, my mother-in-law posted what was supposed to be a funny thing on Facebook and tagged me, saying, "My name and husband visited, but daughter-in-law isn't cut out for that town life. She couldn't handle a few unlocked doors and thinks the whole world is out to get her." Cue the family making fun of me, my upbringing, etc. I'd finally had enough and posted back. Home invasions happen. My best friend's dad was murdered in their home by an intruder when I was 12 years old. Forgive me for caring about my safety and infringing on whatever makes you feel superior here. She deleted the post and told me I was out of line. It wasn't my place to lock doors in someone's house that wasn't mine. If I didn't feel safe with them, maybe I shouldn't visit anymore. I said sure, husband, and I won't visit anymore. She backpedaled and made it clear she meant just me, but I asked why he would drive all the way out there, it's about 5 hours, without me just to be with people who were mean and judgmental about his wife and the locked door. This turned into another big "you're taking my baby away from me" situation. Anyway, in relaying the whole story to others, I've had a surprising reaction. Am I the idiot for locking a door at night? Not the idiot. Crime happens everywhere. Especially if the moron wants to post on Facebook that she doesn't lock her doors, lol. Thieves are opportunistic. Don't invite them in. You were a guest in their house, they should make reasonable provision to make you feel comfortable and safe. Locking a door at night seems reasonable. Honestly, everyone sucks here. You are not the idiot for locking the door, but you are the idiot for asking if they want it locked, them telling you no, and then rather than saying, "Hey, it would make me feel much more comfortable if you can lock the door," you just did it anyway. It's their house and their rules. If they wouldn't let you lock it for the night, they would be the idiot, but you went behind their back. They definitely are the idiot for how they treated you afterwards up until you getting in a childish Facebook argument. I would be so incredibly frustrated in your shoes. There is no reason that locking the door overnight would hurt them, it's such a minor thing. It really does seem like a petty superiority thing. Maybe they're upset you took their kid to the city. Your mother-in-law's Facebook post is extra. Maybe you could have ignored it and let her be petty af, but I don't think you were wrong to stand up for yourself, especially if your husband was on board, only cause his relationship is on the line too.